Yeah, I was having trouble with pop things.
Jeff, you were born in Chapel.
No, actually wasn't. I was born in Charlotte.
Okay.
Actually, my wife was born when she lived in Chapel. So you're the only one.
Omar is somewhere around here. I think
How many people were born in North Carolina stand up? Yeah, this club is made up of a bunch of foreigners. Okay, this is Harvard. Everybody born outside of the United States stand up. That's more people that are born in Chapel Hill. Well,
Where do you go?
you're good. You're good. I've always tried to be funny, but Linda says I'm not as funny as I used to be. And I found out that the audience has to know what you're talking about. And I was doing Jones Angel was going to be our program. And he knew I dated his mama in high school. Y'all didn't know that. And so y'all didn't laugh when he finished, and finally he called on me. He didn't want to call me when I was raising my hand for questions. You've heard the slogan, "Who's your daddy?" He finally said, "Okay, Cliff, what you want to know?" I said, "Who's almost your daddy?" And see, that's funny now that y'all know I dated his mama back then. And the reason I'm telling you that is I was at PETS, which is President-elect Training Seminar, which I had another thing where people didn't understand the joke. They were asking all of us how many African Americans we had in our club. And I think we were the first club in North Carolina to have an African American. Charles Waddell this was in the 1970s. But it just happened to be when I was president, 12 years ago, was when I was at Pitt. Two of our African Americans had moved away because of jobs, and one had died. And so I wrote down that I had one member who was actually born in Africa and two members named Willie. I thought that was really funny. Well, all three of those people I just mentioned are white, and they're Brian Keeliff. He's the only one we had born in Africa, right, born in Zimbabwe. So I thought I was funny. Of course, nobody laughed. Well, that night they handed out a sheet listing all the clubs and the African American members, and we came in second for the most number. They had us down for 3. So they obviously didn't get my joke either. This shows you how big an umbrella you get with Rotary. Every time we go to England, our first exchange student from Scotland goes and meets us in London. And we were in the UNC has a townhouse down London, and we had rented it for a week. And you could lean out the back window of that townhouse. You stay on the 4th floor, and you could touch the British Museum. So we knew we were going to the British Museum. Sandra was coming to meet us, and she's at a funeral in Greenock, Scotland, the week before she's going to see us. And she's sitting beside one of her high school buddies' mothers, and she mentions she's going to London, and she said, "Well, you need to touch base with Roderick. He's the director of the British Museum." So she called Roderick, came to see us. We had a full day at the British Museum with a guided tour by the director. We ate in the room where only foreign dignitaries and the royal family eat. All because in 1983 I said, "Yeah, I'll take an exchange student from Scotland, that'll be fun." And the other thing Rotary did to me, they sent me to Denmark, our district. They wanted the guy in the club who was the most perfect North Carolinian, and they chose me. And so if you ever go to Denmark, people expect you to be just like me. Have we got any guests today? All the guests stand up, and we'll. Okay.
This is Jennifer and my guest, Jonathan. Robinson. Robinson.
And our county manager here, where's Hebner? I saw Hebner. Yeah,
There's
Jim.
a Hebner.
Jim, he's gonna get us a county airport. I might wanna buy your plane back. I've talked to him about it. Who you got, Brian?
Yes, well, great pleasure for me to introduce. We have a second Afro-American, Felix. We're getting quite a community here. A great friend of mine, old friend, but actually a young one as well. Peter comes to us today. It's actually his second meeting. The first was when he was a professor here at the Fuqua. He was at Fuqua before, and then he was at Flagler. Unfortunately, then he left, was the dean at the South Carolina Business School down there. But we got him back home again. So, Peter, welcome.
And I hope I'm sorry to interrupt again. I got a great story to tell you all about Red Dog.
Well, I don't think we may not have you back, Cliff. Or you have to run that story by me first. That's fine. I will keep my remarks short, if not non-existent, so that we can go ahead and we've got a packed agenda. We've got Jeff Blass from the district governor here today to speak with us. We've got Travis Myron from the county to talk about the school bond issue coming up. And we've got Maddie Blow from the Public School Foundation and Allison Worthy, a teacher supply store stalwart. So without further ado, so I'm going to go ahead and kick it to you. That's all right. All right, thanks.
Well, happy to kick off your full day today, but thank you for having me and sharing what's going on in Rotary, the district, share about the theme for the year. So let's see this. Move along. This is Stephanie Urchin. She is our international president. She's our second international president for Rotary. And this was the moment that she announced in front of 530 incoming district governors like myself, and announced the magic of Rotary as the theme for this year. And she got this magic when she was actually, came up with the idea of magic of Rotary when she was in the Dominican Republic. And she was working on a water filter project. And so they're testing out the equipment. They're running the dirty, undrinkable water through the filter. And a couple of young boys are watching everything. And when they saw this clean water come out, they said, Miss Stephanie, can you do that magic trick again? So Stephanie thought about it and realized that much of what we do in Rotary is indeed magical. And it doesn't have to be clean water. It can be just reading to a child or taking care of a senior citizen. All of that, all the things we do, all the great projects we do is indeed magical. And she would also add that there's many ways to contribute to the magic of Rotary. Of course, we do good work and serve and do projects, but of course contributing to our Rotary Foundation is a way to contribute, and to bring more people in to help us do that magic. That's another way of adding to the magic. So what's our vision? Well, there's 1.4 million of us in the family of Rotary. We like to talk about the family of Rotary. We'll talk more about that later. But there's 1.2 million Rotarians. There's 200,000 Rotaractors, and we're across 200 countries, and we all are trying to create lasting change in the world, in our communities, and ourselves. And our mission, well, of course, we provide service to others, and Stephanie Urchik has really tried to promote the idea of peace and goodwill throughout the world, and we do that through our network of leaders. And of course, Rotary is known for its group of business and community leaders, but I would argue that all of us who are in Rotary, that basically are people of action, we are creating lasting change, we're all in many ways leaders. These are our 7 areas of focus, and Stephanie has really put a spotlight, as I said, on peace and conflict resolution. But I would argue that all of the things we do, all the areas of focus, in a way contributes to peace. Whether you're trying to alleviate hunger, you're trying to give people equal opportunity, We try to remove disease from the world and make it a safer, cleaner place to live. If you do those things, generally your community and your nation become a lot more peaceful and peaceful with each other. And so I could argue that all of the areas of focus in a way contribute to peace. Of course, we are very blessed in this district. We have the only peace center at Duke UNC in North and South America. Hopefully you've had a chance to visit the UNC campus or at Duke and see the Peace Center and meet some of the Peace Fellows. It's one of 6 peace centers in the world, and the 7th is actually opening up in Istanbul, Turkey. And President Stephanie has issued a welcome and an invitation to all of us. If you want to go to Istanbul in February 2025, you can see the opening of our newest Peace Center. But if you haven't had a chance to talk or meet the Peace Fellows, they're amazing individuals. I get inspired by them. We've been blessed to have the opportunity to host 3 of the Peace Fellows since we moved here 6 years ago, and we really love what the Peace Center does. So let's switching gears here. What's the district's role? I view our district role as a listening agent. We want to hear what you and the East Chapel Hill Club and the other clubs are saying. We want to take some information and share it, share best practices. We can offer guidance and make sure that if you ever need some advice, we'll give it. But we're never going to tell you what to do. All of you, the clubs are different. You come from different backgrounds, different sizes, different cultures. And so clearly, you know what's best for helping your club. But we're going to give you ideas and support. We'll also facilitate training and learning. One thing we do encourage the clubs to do is take advantage of some of the training that we offer at the district. Take advantage of the My Rotary website. I know it's not the greatest website, but it does offer some great learning programs and classes in that website, which can not only just tell you more about Rotary, but offer all kinds of skill development programs that can, whatever you do in life, whatever your career. And I'd also argue that if you check out some of the district events and learning, you will gain new ideas, more networking, and it will help you whatever you're doing in your own career. It's kind of a busy slide, and I'm not going to test you on all the names or the district numbers. These are the 31, including myself, governors of the 2 zones that we're part of. We're in Zone 33, which runs from Pennsylvania, West Virginia, all the way down to South Carolina. Zone 34 runs from Georgia to the Caribbean. Patrick Eakes is our current international director. He's from Greensboro, and he's in charge of this whole territory of Zones 33 and 34. One thing you'll notice, where that little dark green box in the middle of North Carolina, not a very large district when you look at it. And I encourage all of you to take advantage of that if you can and collaborate and connect with some of the other Rotarians in our district. There's some districts that don't have the ability to do that. You wouldn't think about calling somebody who was 3 hours away to grab a cup of coffee. But we've got clubs right here in Chapel Hill. We got other clubs in Durham and elsewhere. You know, go talk to them, see what's going on with them, and share ideas. The other thing I'll tell you is, 2 years ago, I didn't know a single person on this slide. And Rotary brought us together. We've trained together over the last 2 years. And I consider each one of these other 30 governors dear and close friends. Like I said, 2 years ago, I didn't know a single one. And we have each other's back. And I would argue that when you look for the magic of Rotary, just what Rotary's done in bringing us together is part of the magic of Rotary. So you might have heard already about the Rotary Action Plan. You will definitely hear more about it as the year progresses. But we're trying to give the clubs tools on how to, best kind of support their club, grow it, create the culture that they want. But it's really 4 pieces. It's how does a club become more impactful in its community? How do we broaden our reach? I'll talk more about that a little later. How can we make sure that the participants, the members of the club, are fully engaged and feel belong? And then how do we keep up with the changing times that are adaptable? You have to really work on all 4 pieces, or it's hard to just work on one. Let's talk about impact for a second. All nonprofits, including service organizations like Rotary, are increasingly being asked, well, how do you know what you're doing is having an impact? Let's say, for example, you're reading to school children, 2nd, 3rd graders, and people might ask you, well, are the grades improving? Are the scores going up? Or are we still holding children back and not able to progress through school? Those are kind of things that we have to kind of get a handle on and be able to measure and assess. Is it accomplishing what we want it to accomplish? So how can we increase impact? Well, for one thing, I encourage you all to reach out to your community members like we're here today and make sure that what we're working on is what they want us to work on. These are the most critical needs of our community. And so constantly kind of assess and reassess. And as part of that, partnerships. I've got a new position in the district, Director of Community Relations, and we're going to try to spend more time partnering and developing partnerships with municipal leaders, community leaders, business leaders, and so that we can, one, work on common issues, common needs, and maybe promote issues that we're all working on together better, so that the community has a better idea of what we're doing to serve them. Core Rotary, obviously, if you add more members, you'll increase impact. Give it a foundation. If you're, good support of the foundation, as Stephanie said earlier, you contribute to the magic, you can certainly contribute to impact. And as I said, keep reassessing, make sure that what you're doing still makes sense. So let's talk about reach for a second. I don't know if you know this, but 35% of the population thinks that Rotary is for them. The bad news of that is that means 65% of the population does not think that they have what it takes to be a Rotarian. And 25% of the population, only 25% know somebody personally in Rotary. 75% do not personally as friends. So clearly what all that tells us is that we don't exactly have a very broad tent here. We're not operating in all the circles we need to operate if we want Rotary to reflect our community better. So how can we expand our reach? Well, we need to keep working on ways to grow and diversify membership. And as I said, we got to create a club that's attractive, or a kind of a model that's attractive to them in terms of what's in it for them, and we give them something that they came for. So we want to make sure that we need to diversify membership by finding ways to be more attractive to more different kinds of people. I've already talked about partnerships, so I won't talk more about that. But new pathways to being a Rotarian. Well, there's a couple ways to do that. You can be more flexible with your memberships within the club, or you can find ways to identify new satellite opportunities. And this could be all kinds of satellite opportunities. It could be a certain demographic, young professionals, people just recently graduated from college and were road actors. It could be people who speak a foreign language, people who are really passionate about a particular type of issue in our community or in the world. It could even be people who like to bowl or golf together, but want to do some good in the community at the same time. They could be a satellite. So we want to be innovative, open-minded about it. All I ask you is if you do see opportunities where a group of a demographic or an interest group would like to be connected in some way, but can't connect fully with a club, please identify for the district those opportunities. We'll run it from there. We'll see what we can do to bring them into the bigger Rotary tent. We realize that the clubs having trouble to try to also manage their own clubs and manage satellite, but we want to identify those opportunities. And we have to really broaden our appeal and combat stereotypes. That may be one of our biggest challenges. People think they know what Rotary is. They think that who Rotarians are. Sometimes they're right. But the fact is, there's a lot of stereotypes out there. I'll tell you real quick, when I was telling people in my neighborhood, right here in Chapel Hill, my neighborhood, that I was going to be a district governor for Rotary. And the first thing I got asked was, do we have a secret handshake? And I said, no, we don't have a secret handshake. And then somebody else asked me, you're the guys with the fezzes, aren't you? Do you get a special fez to wear as governor? I said, no, we don't wear fezzes. So clearly they're confusing us with other people, but we need to combat stereotypes. I was talking to somebody else in another club who she thought that because she wasn't like the head of the company, she thought she could only come to Rotary meetings as part of a corporate membership. And finally somebody to convince her that you too could be a Rotarian in your own right under your own name. She didn't realize that. So we need to understand there's some of those stereotypes out there. And we need to keep telling our story. I applaud you if you're on Facebook and other social media, but I do worry that sometimes it's ourselves reading all these posts on social media. Make sure we're reaching all the different demographics. Make sure that we're telling a story to enough people so that we can broaden that tent. Engagement. Engagement's a really big thing because obviously we want to make the club interesting and attractive. We want people involved. We want them to feel like they belong. So how do we do that? Make sure your onboarding process is strong, both before they join and after they join. Make sure they know why they're joining Rotary, not just because you asked them. And make sure they give you a good idea of why you want them to be Rotarian. We want quality, we want diversity, but we want quality, and they need to know why they're joining Rotary. And they need to have some clear expectations that hopefully will meet once they join Rotary. So after they join, make sure that they're getting what they came for, make sure they're still keeping up the learning about Rotary. One of the saddest things is we train something about Rotary all the time, we induct them, and then we never expect them to learn any more about Rotary after that. Please don't do that. And then keep it fun. A lot of my counterparts, those other governors you saw on that slide, they're starting to add a fifth test to the four-way test. The fifth question being, is it fun? And in fact, I had some fellows my visits add that when they do the four-way test. But I would just say, we always want to make the meetings and being part of Rotary a fun experience, a rewarding experience, a uplifting experience, but a fun experience too. Again, check with your members, find out what's on their minds. Are we giving them what they came for? Are they getting still everything they came for? And basically, is there anything they see that we could certainly do differently? Make sure you're embracing the new ideas. And as I mentioned before, keep up the education. So finally, the adaptable piece. Well, the world is changing, and you guys have all tried to adapt. You left the Sheraton Hotel, came here, trying to make the food and the dues better both ways. And so I applaud you for that. And just got to keep up with the times. But we got to be flexible. We've got to be open-minded. So how do we do that? Well, Paul Harris said that the world is changing and it's going to be rewritten again and again what the story of Rotary is. So he thought about this issue decades ago. So how do we do that? Take advantage of technology, find out how people are getting their information, make sure you're reaching all the different kind of people you want to reach, offer alternative memberships as we talked about, and keep listening to each other, embrace the new ideas. If you can't embrace the idea, please let the district know, and maybe somebody else can embrace their new idea, or we'll help you embrace that new idea. But share it with us, because we want to see if we can give some of our new members a chance to make a difference in their own way. And I leave you with this as far as adaptability. Being way more afraid of not changing than being afraid or concerned about change. Change is hard, but not changing is a hell of a lot scarier. And just some awards to let you know, we will continue the Servant's Heart Award, which my predecessor, Veronica Penn, started. If you bring in a member, if you work on a service project, and you give through Rotary Direct, which we're encouraging people to do, whether it's by mail, online, or by phone, you will earn the Servant's Heart Award. Club Excellence Award. Those you might know about the Rotary Citation, it's now called the Club Excellence Award this year. It's pretty much the same thing. Get a certain number of goals, and you will earn the Club Excellence Award. I've added some other fun awards. Hopefully they're fun. We're going to do some awards to reflect your success with each of those pieces of the Rotary Action Plan. And if you hit all four of them, you will earn the Irresistible Club Award. And I hope if you do win the Irresistible Club Award, you make sure you have a good showing at the district conference in May, which will be here in Chapel Hill. And we'll make a special recognition of those who hit the Irresistible Club Award. Just some upcoming events. For the first time ever, we're going to have a Rotary Foundation. I don't think we're going to do a dinner. I think we're going to do a reception to keep the cost down. It'll be November 9th. We're going to recognize some of the donors of the foundation. We're going to celebrate the foundation in a bigger, better way. We used to have it in our September assembly, but we're going to take the time to focus in November. I don't know if you know this, but the district set a record in both the giving to the annual fund and the giving to Polio Plus last year. For the first time ever, we come close. For the first time ever, we went over $500,000 as a district in donating to the annual fund, and we went over $150,000 to Polio Plus. So just outstanding year. We're also going to celebrate our gifts to the endowment, which we're supporting as well. So it's going to be a great celebration. We're going to get probably one of our foundation trustees to be our featured speaker. The district conference will be at the Friday Center, not too far from here. And it's going to be May 16th, so please put that on your calendar. We're going to try to give you a really good program, and we're going to try to get your input over the year so that we can make sure we're going to address what you want us to address at the conference. How many of you have ever been to an international convention? Anybody? A few of you? Well, I applaud you if you have. It is an experience. I realize it costs some money to travel these places, but to see 20,000, 30,000 Rotarians from around the world come together, all dressed in their garb, sharing ideas, talking about all the projects around the world, you really get a better sense of what Rotary is all about, and you're inspired when you come back for them. We in the district Those who join us at these conventions, we also have a dinner or party together, and we'll celebrate together. We already have almost 30 people from our district already signed up for Calgary, so we're very excited about that. The Calgary Stampede is going to be next week after the convention's over, and we're going to stop and see the Canadian Rockies and take a train ride ending in Calgary before the convention. So I encourage you to check it out. It should be fun, but that's June 21st to 25th. So, in the interest of time, just for President Tim, just want to say thank you for letting me speak. I just want to leave it open. Does anybody have any questions at all that's on your mind? I know you got a full schedule, but I thought I'd at least open it up if there's any questions. Anybody? All right. Well, if not, I just want to wish you all a great year. You're a great club. You do all the work. I appreciate it.
Jeff, we owe you gratitude for stepping up and taking on the role, so appreciate it. Thank you. And we will be reaching out for sure, because these are some great ideas and suggestions, so thank you. Travis, you want to come on up and start your presentation. Folks, Travis Myron from the Orange County Financing Team.
Thanks, Tim. I'm Travis Myron. I'm your Orange County Manager, and I'm here today to talk a little bit about the upcoming general obligation bond for school facilities and the associated capital financing plan that will be needed to finance those improvements. I don't know how much fun this is going to be, as your district governor urged, but hopefully you'll walk away today with a little better understanding about how the bond will impact both the schools and the taxpayers. So just a little bit of history. This isn't the first time that this community has talked about school facilities and improving school facilities. As you may remember, back in 2016, there was a bond of $125 million total. $120 million of that was dedicated to schools, $5 million of that was dedicated to affordable housing. Over the subsequent years, each of the individual school districts did some of their own planning. So as you know, Orange County is home to both Orange County schools and Chapel Hill Carrboro City schools. So each district did some of their own planning, and then in 2022, the Board of Commissioners thought that it would be a good idea to create a consistent plan across the districts that was comprehensive and outlined all of the facility needs throughout the county. So in doing that, the county retained a consulting firm named Wolpert, and they analyzed all of the school facilities, and I'll talk about the lenses through which they did that analysis in a little bit. So we have the Wolpert study and their recommendations for sort of which schools should be improved and in which priority. And then we also have a school, basically a capacity analysis and student projections that was done by a group out of NC State. And based on sort of the existing capacity that's available in the school facilities, they've predicted that given the growth that's occurring in Chapel Hill, Carrboro, and in broader Orange County, that there wouldn't be any new school capacity increases needed for the next 10 years. So we're really focused on existing facilities, not new seats in schools. So as I said, the Wolpert approach used two lenses. One was to assess school facilities based on their educational adequacy. So that is, how do the spaces inside of the school function as learning environments for students? And the goal here was that the learning and support spaces were going to be at least 90% of the size recommended by North Carolina Department of Public Instruction standards. And so that was one lens that they used. The second was, what do the facilities actually look like? So they conducted a facility condition assessment and looked at every component that's part of the school, whether that's HVAC systems, plumbing systems, electrical systems, fire panels, There was one recommendation going down to replacing a water fountain that wasn't functioning. So that's the level of detail that we have in terms of recommendations. And they organize and prioritize those recommendations as high priority needs. Now, we will be focusing on levels 1 through 3, so those that are really critical for the facility's ability to remain open. 2, the impact that the failure could have on the school and the learning environment. Those consultants created 4 options for the Board of Commissioners to consider, ranging from option A, which only really addressed what needed to be fixed, all the way through option D, which introduced the concept of replacement schools. As you know, a lot of the school infrastructure in Orange County is quite old, and so in cases where the cost of repair is greater than the value of the building, that's where we would start considering a replacement rather than reconstructing a school or renovating a school. So we wanted also to take a holistic view of planned school improvements. So there are 3 real elements here. One is the general obligation bond. So that was approved by the Board of Commissioners in June, so will appear on the November ballot. You'll see the very exciting ballot question in a little bit. So that they sized at $300 million. This is a general obligation bond, so it's backed by the highest pledge of county government. So that's why it needs to be approved by the voters. So a general obligation bond is backed by the full faith and credit of the county. And the county pledges to levy whatever tax is necessary to pay back our bondholders. And so all of the reason that we vote on it is because of that very high pledge. We also use other financing mechanisms that require things like collateral, like you would typically do if you went to a bank. Those are called limited obligation bonds, but those carry a higher interest rate than a general obligation bond, which is why when we do really big projects, we want to get the lowest rate possible in the market and use general obligation bonds to do that. Those bonds are paid back using debt service, so this would be like the payments you make on your mortgage. This is the payments that the county makes to repay the loans that it takes out for facility improvements. In addition to that, I mentioned that there's a whole plan of finance that's sort of being applied to school facility improvements. So in addition to that general obligation bond, the board also wanted to include some more flexible funding. So that's we call in public finance terms, pay-as-you-go funding, but it's cash, right? So this is cash that will go to each of the districts. $10 million a year for 10 years is the current goal. But like I said, it does provide some flexibility. So if there is an economic downturn and that those funds are needed for something else, that we can redirect those. It's not like debt service. Debt service is locked in. It's the number one obligation at the top of the spreadsheet when we start creating the budget is our debt service obligation. The other advantage, of course, of cash funding is that there's no interest. So that money is free of any sort of interest payment or encumbrance. And then we also have the funds that we're planning to do as part of our existing 10-year capital investment plan. And so that, in addition to existing capital balances, total about $156 million. So we put all of that together for sort of a total resource available for school facility improvements of just over $550 million. That's over a 10-year period. So in terms of how those funds would get applied, so that general obligation bond will largely be applied to major projects. So these are the few school replacements and major renovations that are of high priority and affordable. affordable. So of that general obligation bond, about $175 million will be allocated to Chapel Carver City Schools, and then the balance, about $120 million, will be allocated to Orange County schools based on the recommendations contained in that Wolford analysis I talked about earlier. The pay-as-you-go or cash funding, that will largely go to fund like design services, and then start nailing or checking off the high priority needs, HVACs, roofs, plumbing, electrical systems. And then the existing capital planned investments will take care of annual maintenance and whatever remaining high priority needs that are existing. Now the Wolper plan identified a total of $1 billion in capital need over the course of a 15-year period. So we want to take a long view, but also be realistic about what's affordable. And so that's why we're right now talking about more like a $500 million amount of resources that will be available for school improvements. So of the total funding that's available, about 60% will go to Chapel Hill Carver City Schools, 40% to Orange County Schools. That's roughly also the proportion of students in each of the districts. So that's traditionally hovered around that 60-40 split. But then we also have to recognize that circumstances are going to change. We all know that capital projects don't always behave like we'd like them to. We also know that priorities in the external environment change. And so we recognize that we're going to have to review these plans on an annual basis. So you may know that the districts are currently sort of looking at which projects that they would like to fund using the bond money and the other resources that will be available. And so we need to recognize that some of those projects may change over time, and some of the timing of those projects may also change. So the sequence might be different moving forward. But we really do need a plan so that when circumstances change, we're able to pivot to sort of the most effective use of those funds as possible. So school facilities don't exist in isolation. We also have a county facility plan taking a look at, again, that same 10-year window, and that plan includes about $90 million in county facility improvements, so bringing the total sort of new borrowing up to almost $400 million. Of course, all of that money has to come from somewhere. So we don't print it, unfortunately. So what this chart shows is basically what the tax equivalent impact would be on property owners in Orange County if the bond were to pass and all of those other financing sources were available. So I talked about sort of the base capital investment plan, so those things that we were already planning on doing. So that's a tax equivalent of about 2.79 cents. If you add in the bond, that's 3.41 cents at the bottom, and then that $100 million in PAYGO or cash funding is about 2.68 cents. Now that all adds up to over 8 cents. Now it's important to note that this is based on a lot of assumptions, first of all. So for example, it's going to be really sensitive to values. So as we look at the revaluation this coming year, we're going to, that will depend, the tax rate will change based on what that total assessed value in the county turns out to be.
Two questions.
Well, yeah.
Is that per thousand? 8.8 per thousand?
Per 100.
Per 100.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. And is that only for 2026 that increase, or is that going forward beyond 2026?
So yeah, so it would be basically a permanent one-time increase. So, but what I'll also say is that this will likely be phased in over time. So it doesn't all, because the projects won't occur all in 2025, 26. They'll be, phased in over time. And so that's a one-time impact intended to represent sort of the highest case scenario. And this is the impact on the average home. So if you're living in a home valued at $500,000, the bond itself, so that's that 3.41 cents, would be about $170,000. And then if you look at that full package, $444. And this just is a chart that represents sort of our expectations moving forward. So if everything that I've talked about today, all of the borrowing that we've talked about, comes to fruition, this is what our debt capacity looks like over time. So once those bonds are issued, you start paying off the bonds, and you'll see that the debt service or the payments we make increases till about 2034 or so, and then starts coming down as we pay off those obligations. So we don't start picking up additional capacity until really 2036 or so. So this would be sort of a long-term investment made in school facilities.
Excuse me. So that was residential. What about commercial impact for property for the tax?
So it'd be the same tax rate, just applied to a different value. And here is the ballot question as it will appear in November. Most of this, well, all of this is prescribed by law, so I wouldn't necessarily have worded it this way, but shall the order authorizing $300 million of bonds plus interest to pay capital costs of providing school facilities and paying related costs and providing that additional taxes may be levied in an amount sufficient to pay the principal and interest on the bonds as adopted by the county's board of commissioners on June 18, 2024, be approved in light of the following. So those are the questions that will be.
You showed a $700,000 house in the previous slide, would have an increase of about $600 and some dollars. That doesn't equate to $34.10 per 100,000. That's very misleading.
No, so what I wanted to show, so if you just look at the bond itself, so that's just the bond, and because the ballot question is only about the bond,
Right.
That's why that $34 is there. It's not intended to be misleading.
Okay.
It's just which section of the finance.
Oh, so that's just for the bond. The other one is all three.
That's right.
So we can't vote on the other pieces.
Only through your board of commissioners, yes. So just in terms of immediate next steps, we'll as I mentioned, the districts are in the process of refining their project plans over the summer. Those will come back to the board of commissioners in the fall. And then we are also engaged in a bond education committee. We had our first meeting last night, so you'll see information like this, but more project-oriented, coming out of that committee as we proceed into October. With that, happy to answer any questions. Yeah.
Me?
Yeah, sure.
So I have two questions real quick.
Yes.
How much was Wolpert paid for this consulting work? Over what period of time? And my second question is, this all has to do with buildings and structures. And North Carolina's school system has a terrible reputation for the way we treat teachers. So this has nothing to do with improving the quality of the education the kids are getting. So how does the county handle that?
Mm-hmm. So there are two different funding sources. So we have this capital plan, but then we also fund schools through the operating budget, through the current expense funds. And so those have been going up, and that's where the schools help pay for teacher supplements and the state is primarily responsible for teacher pay and sets salary schedules and whatnot. The county is largely responsible for facilities and then enhancements to that pay that can be afforded at the time.
And Wolpert?
The Wolpert plan was $970,000. That was conducted over about a 2-year period.
I do not want to cut this short because I know there are a lot of questions. This could be a program on its own, I think. Can you stick around a little bit after 2 o'clock?
Sure.
Okay, sorry. I know.
Oh.
Thank you. Man, Glow with the Public School Foundation.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's nice to be back. I was here in the spring to talk about the teacher supply store, and I'm glad to be back to give you an update on where we are for this year. And if some of you missed our presentation in the spring, I hope this will be helpful in giving some of the history. So I know so many of you from working with you at the teacher supply over the last few years. Tim has been working with us. He was there for COVID, the COVID years. It's been amazing. But the store goes all the way back to 2008. And I'm going to let Allison, who was there from the beginning, tell you a little bit about the history.
Some of you probably recognize the pictures. We piloted this program in 2008 and served 125 teachers, K through grade 2, and we provided $10,000 worth of supplies. And that was our pilot. At this time, 17 years ago, we met with Rotary. Rotary loved the idea, and so in July they said, we're doing this in January. And so in January, we had our first store in an unheated space in Vilcom. We had no electricity, no heat, no lights, but we did it. And look at where we are today. In August of 2008, we had a full store and provided 295 teachers with $16,000 worth of supplies. In 2009, we moved to the Legion Hut, which was a great space. And the store alternated between primary and secondary teachers every year. And each year we provided social workers and novice teachers with supplies because they always had needs. By 2019, we were able to serve over 600 teachers every year in that rotation. During the COVID years, we had to be very creative, and we are so grateful that the club sort of took that journey with us, and we transitioned to a store went on even during COVID. And in 2022, just 2 years ago, we were so excited to return to an in-person store at the East Chapel Hill High School gym. And in 2024, the magic and the most exciting news is that we're going to serve all teachers this year. Not 600, 1,200. We are so grateful to this club for doing that, and I have to say that it was really Mike Clayton at the very beginning who said, this is my dream. We need to serve all teachers in one store. And we thought, oh gosh, how are we going to do that? Well, we're going to do it this year. So stay tuned and sign up to volunteer because we're going to need your help.
Yeah, it is magic. And Jeff, you talked about having a global impact. I don't think there's anything more important than supporting our teachers in our schools because ultimately that is our future of the world. Those kids are. And the impact you've had over the last 17 years has been amazing. You've served almost 19,000 teachers and almost $600,000 worth of supplies, which is just truly amazing. But those are really just the numbers. I know some of you have seen this video already, but I think you'll enjoy watching it again.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So what brings you out this morning?
Well, I am a middle school teacher at Phillips, and I was told that I was able to come out and get supplies for my classroom.
Every year, as a teacher, you look in the classroom and you say there are a couple things that you might need, and you just don't get it.
School supplies are not cheap. I've got my own kids I'm buying supplies for, and I always buy extra from the school. Until you assess the numbers that you have in your class, you never know how much you have to come out of your pocket.
If I didn't have this opportunity, I would spend my money.
I love the teacher supply store. It is just nice to not have to rush out to Walmart or Target and spend my own money to get things and use my own time so I can use a work day to gather what I need for the year so that we can be successful.
So this is the order for the Chapel Hill Scarborough City School Public School Foundation. We've done this a number of years now here at Staples. That's a really good thing that we're able to do for the teachers and students here in the community. And I'm just doing my part here, helping them get the supplies that they need.
Good stuff.
We're here today to set up the 17th Annual Teacher Supply Store, which is sponsored by the East Chapel Hill Rotary Club and the Public School Foundation.
So we have a couple of boxes that pick them out of trucks, and then we have back tomorrow night, which tagging for the price.
In just a few hours, teachers will start pouring in here. We've had help from Staples, Walmart, R3, Goldfish, Triangle Office Equipment. There's so many people that get involved in donating to this teacher supply store to make it happen and share our teachers' love.
It really is East Chapel Hill Rotary's favorite project. The members line up to volunteer. If they can't be here, they donate their funds.
It's our club's biggest service project. In the 17 years, I think we've done around $700,000, $800,000.
We asked teachers, what of all of our events, what should we prioritize? And almost 100% of the teachers replied that this teacher supply store is the most important thing that we do.
This is awesome. Like just getting free supplies, it's amazing.
And super generous. I really appreciate all that you guys are doing.
I'm not used to this where I'm from, so this is really, really so touching to me and mind-blowing. So it means a lot to me.
It's exciting. We get to come in and shop and get materials, so we're really grateful.
You just don't know how far this really goes and what this really means to us.
The Public School Foundation is amazing. I am so thankful for everything they've done for us. I've been in the district for 10 years and couldn't do it without them.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So here we go. We're a little nervous about this year, but we're making some changes.
I talk about an event that's happening today this evening.
Oh no.
So the last few years, because of COVID, we gave the teachers gift cards, and that was really necessary when schools were shut down. We didn't know what they needed for remote learning. So this year, we're cutting out the gift cards because that's a huge expense. It was about $16,000 worth of gift cards. We can buy a lot more than $16,000 worth of supplies, given the great discounts that Staples gives us. So no gift cards this year, and we're going to give every teacher $50 instead of $75. We hope we can get back to 75, but we got to just see how it goes this year. First year, we're learning. Another challenge, the facilities are great. We can accommodate that many people, and they have to sign up to come so that we can control the flow of traffic. The other thing is storage. Unloading that many supplies that morning was scary because last year was hard. But we have a plan. We have the items stored at Chapel Hill High School in a trailer directly there, so they don't have to be moved. And we're just hiring a little extra muscle this year to help us get everything set up in the gym. So we think it's going to go great. I'm sure we'll learn a lot, but we're so excited. So on August 21st, we start setting up at 8 a.m. and we'll be setting up and pricing until around 2 p.m. And then at 3, we're going to open their doors for our first customers from 3 to 5 that afternoon. And then on August 22nd, we'll have a ribbon cutting at 8. And the store will be open until 4. The last shoppers can come in at 4, and then we'll clean up. Hopefully everything will be fine.
Yeah.
So, and then I want to give a big shout out to our partners. Staples has been there since the beginning. They're amazing. They work with us this year. They're doing more to get donations. There's a donation box in the store right now. They're having a stuffed bus for us on the 10th, which is a Saturday. They're giving teachers great discounts, so they continue to be our #1 partner. UNC is going to have another supply drive for us this year. Walmart gave us a $2,000 grant, and they're working with us on pricing. Triangle Office Equipment really jumped in during COVID to make everything possible. And of course, the Chapel Hill City Schools, amazing, giving us space. And you saw the school facility guys out there, 95-degree morning, helping us upload the truck, even though it's not their job. But they were there because they love this project too. I just want to give a thank you all. This wouldn't be possible without your help. And you're touching every classroom teacher with us. I think that's why teachers love it so much. You know, the Public School Foundation gives grants and awards, and that touches a lot of teachers, but not every teacher. This impacts them all, and it makes them feel seen and heard, and especially in a time when, you know, things are not great for teachers. It's great to have someone who has the back.
Interesting statistic is when we first started this store, teachers would spend an average of $500 out of their own pockets for supplies for their classrooms.
Wow.
It is now $900.
Wow.
So this support is so meaningful for teachers because that's a lot of money on a teacher's salary.
Yep. And actually also school budgets from the state, the funding from the state has been cut this year, and supplies to the principals, the budget and principals get for supplies has also been cut. So that's going to affect what teachers need to buy as well. Thanks to all our founders and in the room and Allison. And I left a flyer on everyone's table. There's a QR code here. If you haven't already signed up to work on one of those days, you can just scan this QR code with your phone. And we'll probably on August 1st, I'm going to open it up to our board and other student volunteer groups. So make sure you get the spots that you want. Any questions? Well, thank you. I'm excited, and just couldn't do this without you. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Maddie. Thank you, Allison. Travis, thank you so much. Jeff, thank you so much for being here. A lot happening today. Y'all have a good weekend. It's the Olympics. USA. USA. Let's go. To Maddie's point, in the last scuttlebutt, we did put in a link to volunteer as well. So if you don't get a chance to scan that QR code, do go back to the scuttlebutt. I tell you what, it's so much fun. Not only setting up, which, you know, it's fun, right? But if you can volunteer when the student or teachers come through there and ring up their supplies, I mean, the looks in their eyes and the gratitude they give, it's amazing. So I would encourage coming through there at least once. So thank y'all. Have a good weekend.
Let me just grab it.
We got on DC with one question. I would like to, and be is that the official invitation?
Oh, get out of here. Get out of here. Y'all have a good weekend.
Maybe somebody to look at the thing and say, and you have this government, and
Everybody's on a sneak peek.
Joe started looking at
So we got solar and she's probably aware of it, but I'm not really thinking what. Get chocolate.
Thank you for coming. Appreciate it. I'll pass it when you get to talk about taxi orders.
So we don't have a meeting.
Make sure I support it.
Under your protest.
Prior to your school, prior to coming, you should be resident, so like that.
I mean, what do
it's been holding at about 1%. Several percent.
Oh, yeah. Right. Sabotaged on the railroads.
That'll be but I think that as replacements are available, that would certainly.
Why would that be a school board decision rather than manager's decision?
So the school district those programs, it's sort of a weird, it's unique to North Carolina.
So do they make that decision based on concepts? So how many, there's no
So the projections that we show no need for additional
now we talked about
yes.
maybe we should renovate with all this other and other recommendations. What exciting things are you doing?
So I think part of the consultant's recommendation was to look at each of the programs and spaces. So like the exceptional children's spaces, for example, incredible. So that's not necessarily one of the reasons, but coming up with portions of facility up to things like that. As a stand,
That would make I mean, but as a, this is what I
have.
Yeah,
I have my DNA though. I got
I got
Yeah. I don't know if there are any schools in the state that have gone net zero.
What else? I would,
Yeah.
Keep them like buses.
I'm a big fan. We're gonna have electric.
Yeah, like,
our solid waste program runs recycling. We're gonna have electric recycling.
Yeah. I was trying to see if we got here.
So, Linda Sanders. I have a question. So this is a very controversial topic, right? And I appreciate that. So what is being done to get buy-in and what kind of a campaign is going to be? And I'll just use a couple of examples. So we've got Estes Hills Elementary, which is down the street from Liz and me. And we know that was, that closed that, whatever. Well, you can imagine a lot of people are going, wait, I'm walking my kids in front of everybody. So my husband
Linda is also a source, so I think it's something to people. Maybe dumb, but I'm not stupid.
What are the issues? And I'll just use this as I'm just making this up.
Thank you.
Oh my God, foundation issues.
There's
coming in. A picture's worth 1,000 words when you think about it. And just one example, so our police chief, Lisa, who happens to be one of our fellow Rotarians too, when I had lunch with her a couple of weeks ago, and we were just talking about different things, and oh no, we're not going over Blue Cross Blue Shield, we're now going, right, a whole range of things. And she, I remember when she was getting ready for her presentation, and she said, I made sure that I had pictures that trash cans and water was coming in. Because this makes it real for everyone to say, we have a problem. We don't fix things. And it might be remediation of the building, it might be raising the building, it might be, and my husband's recommendation was, how about think about redesigning or reimagining what the elementary school could look like? And I appreciate this. I've got an undergrad in architecture, so I appreciate, you've got playground area. Well, could you start to build part of the school playground area, and it might be an opportunity, and I realize you've got a lot of things to consider, or we do, as a community. Could there be a shared space with the middle school? But there are options, right? And exercising those options and thinking would be, and I'm sure that's happening, but my real question is, what kind of campaign? Because because just seeing the numbers today, I would almost venture to say a high percentage of people in this room would say this $500 million bond isn't going to pass. So how is it presented? People being part of the solution and sometimes those pictures.
So we can't use public funds to advocate for against that. So
but it's not that bad.
Yeah, as long as
it's
we're
let's show
sharing
you the pictures,
information,
right?
as long as we're sharing information, that's all fine. I know
So it's kind of awareness and education.
Yeah, that's
it's education about education.
Yes.
Yeah, maybe even, make a slide showing how much energy, what the power was for the schools in general per year. And it's going to be a huge amount of money, how much you spend on electricity or gas during the year. And then if you're doing your community solar, do a projection of how much money is going to be saved, how much money is going to be saved over a 30-year period. I think Linda's right. You have to, it's important to demonstrate viscerally what the problem is. What is the problem of school kids rolling schools and if we don't fix it now, it's going to cost people more to fix it down the road, etc. Anyway, thank you. Answering my question.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Onu unutmuşlar.
Ha, onların mıydı?
Onların bu.
Oh.
Rotary'nin bu.
Ha, okay.
Unutmuşlar. Yeah, she's fine. She just wanted to give you a break.